This week on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Your total is $4,589.50.
Okay.
That one didn't go through. Do you have another one?
Marronna mia.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to be recapping the new episode of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 15, Episode 11. Let's get right into this. Alright, so the ladies are still in the Hamptons. Dorit, Kyle, and Rachel. Dorit is FaceTiming her daughter, and as she's FaceTiming her, she's telling her what she's going to do today, what she did yesterday, the little girl is. And then all of a sudden, the little girl, turns the iPad, and PK is there. And he, awkwardly waves at Dorit, and, she obviously says hi back. It was, a cute scene or whatever. But what I will say, just based off this scene alone, this narrative that Dorit has, that PK barely sees his kids, and he's not a present father or whatnot, it seems a little wrong. It seems a little contrary. And again, I'm just basing this off what we've seen, what we've heard, because we don't know what really goes on. But, the way the little girl was speaking, about her dad and things like that, it sounds like a child that is close with their father. And also, we got to remember, he's taking care of them this entire weekend, 4 days straight, while Dorit went on a last-minute trip to the Hamptons, which shouldn't be something that's like, oh, I applaud him for taking care of his kids. No, those are his kids. He should be taking care of them. But, I'm just saying, based on what Dorit has said, it sounds contradictory. That's all I'm saying. So then they get ready, and Kyle, Dorit, and Rachel go shopping. We know these ladies love to shop, but they walked into this shop, and as soon as Dorit walked into the store, it was like she was overstimulated. She was loving everything that was in front of her, trying things on, adding it to the bag. Her total, when she went to the register, was $4,589.50. And the worst thing that could probably happen to a person paying at a store happened. Her card didn't go through. Declined. Insufficient funds, in the words of J HUD. And there was 100 workers at the store for some reason. So they were all looking at her, and she had to get her phone. Anyway, she used another card. Thankfully, it eventually went through with another card that she had. Now, in her confessional, she says that it was a fraud alert protection type of thing. Sure. So, and then on her way out, she even picks up another item that they add to the bill. So she spent a lot. So then they head back to the house, and Kyle was speaking with one of her daughters on the phone, and then Bose FaceTimes Kyle. Bose says, once Kyle answers the call, Bose is saying, I've had a lot of FOMO this weekend. She's been seeing the ladies post on social media that their time there at the Hamptons. So Bose is calling just to see how it's going. And Kyle says that her and Bose are getting to know each other a little better this year, because last year they didn't really click super fast. So Bose asks how Dorit is doing, and Kyle says she can't really put her finger on it, but she says that Dorit is late, which she's, they all know that she's late all the time, but she's not being late because, her glam is taking a long time, or no, it's just a different type of lateness. For example, when they were also at the airport, Kyle says that Dorit forgot her passport, she didn't have an ID, and Kyle says to Bose, I don't know if it's manic or OCD is kicking in. Even today when we went shopping, it was crazy. She spent way too much, and I don't think you should be spending that much money in a situation like the one she's in right now. So Bose is kind of taken aback by this, and she says, yeah, and I know that she recently bought a really expensive bag, which I understand because, she might have gotten some advances from the book that she's writing, but I do think that there should be a conversation so that she can be more focused. Now, I will say, we saw the preview, at the end of every episode, we watch the preview for next episode. Next week, you guys, Bose is going to go tell Dorit. Kyle's been calling you a maniac and saying that you have a problem. So I don't want to say she completely twisted it, because Kyle for sure did allude to Dorit not being all the way there. But in the phone call that Kyle and Bose are having, it does make it sound like Bose is agreeing with Kyle. But next episode, when she talks to Dorit, it looks like she's just going to put it all on Kyle, like she didn't agree at all. But I agree with Kyle. Who thinks that it's a good idea to be spending thousands of dollars on a single shopping trip when you're divorcing? But Dorit doesn't want to listen to anybody. She just keeps digging her own grave. All right, then moving on, Sutton and Jennifer Tilly go for lunch. Listen, I think this got to be Sutton's last season. She's not bringing anything interesting. The only good thing about her this season is that we get more scenes with Jennifer Tilly. That's pretty much it. So Sutton tells Jennifer that she talked to her daughter about this damn annulment, which we've heard about 500 times. So she's still crying about that, which, I said this last time. I was like, okay, I get, she would be upset. She got this letter from the Vatican. She's getting a last name changed. Like, it's all happening quickly, and it's like, formal, it's official. But then I thought, like, she's been divorced for a long time, and that's been official too. So, like, why is this hitting her? But what is interesting that we learned in this scene is that Sutton's ex-husband is moving on and has a new woman in his life. And get this, you guys. The woman happens to be a woman that Sutton used to be friends with. Wow. That definitely adds another layer. And I do see how that can be super hurtful. So I do feel bad for her in that sense. Moving on. Speaking of feeling bad, we move on to the next scene. Erika has a therapy session in her house. So she opens up about going to trial. She's being sued for $25 million. She also has a $10 million tax bill that Tom left for her, or left her with. Damn. So Erika says to the therapist, people say that, what is the worst that could happen? At least that hasn't happened yet. But it has. This is the worst. And the therapist says to Erika, no. The worst thing that could have happened already happened to Tom. But not to you, because you're here sitting in front of me. But then Erika begins to cry and says, I'm really tired. I'm really effing tired. The therapist says, you need to learn that, all we have is the now. And Erika says, yeah, but the now isn't great. The now sucks. And then the therapist says, but listen, you're in a good environment. You've got a home. You're in a new relationship. Which, speaking of relationships, Erika tells her therapist that on Saturday, she went and met up with Denise, and how she finally opened up to the ladies about having a similar situation like Denise, which is domestic violence, physically being hit by a partner, which she just experienced recently. So she opens up a little bit more about that, what happened, and like what she said at the dinner that we saw last week, how, she didn't want to call the police. She was ashamed, especially since her son is a police officer. The therapist says that the fact that Erika spoke to some ladies about this is like the first step of her letting it go. Being able to speak about it is a step forward. Erika then continues to say that in this moment she does not feel like she's living life because it's constant. There's challenges every day, and she doesn't like when people say, oh, something will come out of this, or you gotta find beauty in every moment, all those cliche things. Obviously, when you're going through it, you don't feel anything. But then the therapist says that people expect for just one day when everything's gonna be perfect, but that's just not how life happens. So yeah, this scene was heavy. It was a lot. She, was putting it all out there again with this physical abuse that she endured not too long ago, and then this whole legal issue. I mean, imagine how many millions. Like, ooh, it's been a long time that Erika's been going through all this scandal and this whole situation. It's been 5 years, and it does not seem like it's going to end anytime soon. Okay, going back to the Hamptons, Rachel has her family come over. Her mom, her dad, her sister's family, like husband and kids. It was very nice, very sweet. Kyle was there greeting them. She feels a little bittersweet because she says that she loves seeing when people still have their mother and father at a older age, but it makes her think of how much she misses her mother and her dad, and she just wishes that her mother was still there to help her navigate through everything that she's going through, all these different stages of her life. So everybody's there except one person. How disrespectful is it? Rachel's there, her family, Kyle, Dorit, nowhere to be found. She makes it 20 minutes later. I cannot do it. But she is nice, though. Obviously, she tells Rachel's parents that she loves Rachel and whatnot. And then Rachel's mom, who's a fabulous older lady, by the way. It looks like Rachel got the fashion gene from her mom. Her mom gives her a little like encouragement for the divorce that she's heading to. And I kind of wish that this would have been like a one-on-one scene, Rachel and her mom. I think it would have hit deeper because Rachel says that her parents loved her husband, not as a son-in-law, but truly as a son. So maybe that would have been a little bit more interesting to hear their perspective as her parents. Right, then back to Beverly Hills. Bose has a family dinner with her daughter, Lael, and her boyfriend, Keely. Bose's boyfriend, Keely. So they go to a nice restaurant. And when I hear Bose talk about her late husband in her confessionals, it sounds like he truly loved his wife, Bose, and his daughter, their daughter. And that's really sad. But Bose says that thanks to him, her and her daughter know what love and respect needs to look like from a man. So Bose is saying that she feels very disheartened that the egg retrieval didn't succeed. She is going to be doing another one. Keely asks, do you think that you're going to take a break if this next one doesn't go through? And she says, well, if the next one doesn't go through, we're going to need to have a bigger conversation because there's a lot of what ifs that I think about. Because, I know you want to have a baby, but what if it doesn't happen? That is like the most terrifying what if. And Keely says, well, I still want to marry you. I still want to call Lael my stepdaughter. And Bose says, I'm glad to hear that. He then says, well, in life, we all got what ifs. Because, what if I lose my income? Huh? What in the 50 Cent? Remember that song where 50 Cent was like, what if I lost it all and I didn't have anything, would you still love me? What type of question is that, Keely? Because it's giving you want to quit your job after you marry Bose. That was a really weird comment, and I'm starting to question the authenticity of this relationship. Not gonna lie. Okay, so then back to the Hamptons. Rachel says to Dorit, you look so hot tonight. We need to make sure that you meet a boy tonight, because you can really meet people anywhere. Then Kyle begins to tell us this story. She says that there was this one time where she was at a plane, and she was sitting next to this guy, and they were talking. They were kind of, just talking. And he then got his little napkin that they give you in the plane, and he wrote a note in it and then gave it to her, where he pretty much asked her to stay at the airport and shower with him. The way she was telling the story when she was like, he got his napkin, I was like, oh, this has like some potential to be a little romantic. But no, the guy basically wanted to hook up. And that's when Kyle was still married, so no. So then they go to a restaurant to have dinner. Who doesn't love hearing Dorit's drink order? So they order, and Rachel says that today is the anniversary of when her marriage really ended. Truly like the beginning of the end. And she starts talking about this particular weekend that they had in Aspen and how that was the end of the marriage. And she was a little bit speaking in code, kind of saying what happened, but not really. Kyle was asking some good questions, and Rachel says that her husband confessed to what he did. He called her. So it sounds like it was cheating. It sounds like that's what she's alluding to. Most likely. I mean, what else can you confess about? So Rachel says that she thinks that he told her to see if he would get a reaction from her. Which, that's interesting. I mean, cheating is wrong in every scenario, every shape, way, or form. But if things are getting to a point where you have to be like, let me cheat on my spouse to see if they care, that is crazy. Wow. So Dorit asks if he was secure in the relationship, and Rachel says that, yeah, at the beginning he was. And then she mentions how something about her fooling around with a model back in the day, and that's why he proposed to her. I don't know, that was kind of weird. But I'm kind of over this story with Rachel. I get it why that's really her only storyline, because this was all happening in real time in her life while they were filming this summer. But yeah, that was the end of the episode. And it's also the end of the Hamptons trip. Rachel said that, that was the last day of the Hamptons weekend, but she really liked the ladies going. Overall, it was a nice trip. I feel like the ladies had a good time. But this lasted like 3 episodes. I was like, damn. But yeah, that was it. And then next week, we're already going to Milan, to Italy. I think it's Milan. Actually, it might not be Milan. I think it might be another place in Italy. But they're going to go to their Italy cast trip, which that's the one they kept teasing at the beginning, saying that it was like going to be close to Amsterdam. I don't think it will. What will ever live up to Amsterdam? I mean, from, let's talk about the husband, to never go near my husband, to Beast, how dare you? I mean, what can compare to Amsterdam? But they're saying it's going to be a good trip, so I'm looking forward to it. This episode was more of like a filler, which I get it. Not every episode can be a bam, but it was okay. What did y'all think about it? You guys let me know. I'm going to now go watch the Traitors finale / reunion because, I need to know who won. Anyway, you guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on next time. Y'all have a great one. Bye.